Administration Update, Dr. Casey.
Good evening, members of the board and the general public that's here and that is viewing this online. I just have a few items to go through, and first I'd like to welcome Missy Vera, our Director of Elections and General Registrar, to the podium, who's going to provide an update about the ongoing preparations for the upcoming election. Ms. Vera.
Thank you, Dr. Casey. Thanks, ma'am. Good evening, members of the board. Put my glasses on so I can see you all. You know, this is something new for me, so, okay, so bear with me. Okay. This, advancing, okay, here we go. Let me get my notes. Okay, let's begin with the officers of election. So, main question, do we have enough officers of election? Currently, no, but we are not looking short-term for recruitment. The goal is recruiting over and above going into 2024. For the upcoming November election, the projected need for Election Day is 1,100 officers. Currently, we have active officers 1,069, of which 669 served in June. That's a participation rate of 63%. So should all active officers agree to work Election Day and show up on Election Day, we are set, but we know the participation rate is not 100%. So our goal is hefty. It is to recruit at least 500 additional officers. We do see an increase in people voting early, which decreases the voter turnout Election Day. Still, we need people to volunteer their time and be a part of the election process. And it's always nice to have a pool that we can just call on if somebody doesn't show up Election Day, so that's why we're recruiting at least 500. The Electoral Board and I are looking into speaking engagements, getting the information out on how to become an officer of election, and possibly a recruit a friend incentive. We will continue working with communications and media to assist with the recruitment efforts as well. If you know of anyone interested in serving, please send them to our office or direct them to the website where they can fill out and submit an interest form. On to the November ballot. So voters will see the Senate, House, local, and constitutional offices. There'll be 10 offices in total on the ballot. Sample ballots will be available on the registrar's homepage within the next couple of weeks. We're still doing some ballot proofing at this time. So a few deadlines to keep in mind. Register to vote by October 16th or update any existing voter registration. Apply for a ballot to be mailed to you is October 27th. And the deadline to return a vote by mail ballot is usually the Friday after Election Day. However, this coming Friday after the Election Day is a holiday, so that pushes the deadline to November 13th, that Monday after Election Day. So early voting in person begins at the registrar's office Friday, September 22nd through November. The hours of operation are Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 5, and then the 2 Saturdays before the election, 8:30 to 5 as well, so October 28th and November 4th. The early voting at the satellite locations, Clover Hill Library, Meadowdale, Ettrick-Matoaca Library, North Courthouse Road Library, and La Prade Library, voting at those locations begins the 2 weeks before Election Day. So those begin October 23rd and also goes through November 4th. Open the 2 Saturdays as well from 8:30 to 5. The voting hours at the early voting satellite locations Monday through Friday are 10:30 to 7. So any registered voter may cast a ballot at any one of the satellite locations. However, if the voter chooses to vote Election Day, the voter must appear at the precinct he or she is registered to vote, not at those satellite precincts. At each voting location, voters may scan a QR code that will assist in confirming the correct voting location. The QR code directs voters to the county's political district map viewer, which is here on the screen. Voters may type their residence address into the application and view the polling name and location as well. They can see their magisterial districts, they can see political districts, and their current representatives, Board of Supervisors, school board members, and state and federal representatives. I highly encourage voters to do their research early, promptly update voter registration information if there's been a change in residence address and or name, know where to vote, the times and locations, know which offices and candidates are on the ballot. We anticipate voters spending more time in the voting booth since there are 10 offices on the ballot. And we also want to remind voters to appear at the polling location with valid identification. These preparations will go a long way to ensuring a great voting experience. There have been some recent precinct changes which went into effect right before the June election. Precinct 220 Falling Creek East and Precinct 205 Falling Creek are now combined into the Falling Creek Middle School. The notifications we sent updated voter cards. Those were mailed out. Every resident was called by our staff and informed of this change. Now, we were able to do that because there were about 500 registered voters that were affected. So we called every single one since it was right before the June election. The change was posted on the Registrar homepage, and signs were placed at Falling Creek Elementary School to direct people to Falling Creek Middle School. We will again place those signs for this upcoming election. And we will send a reminder letter closer to the November general election, just reminding those people that we did make that change. The proposed changes, now these are going to be part of the public hearing this evening. If approved, voters registered in these precincts, 201, 518, and 520, they'll be mailed also a voter card. We will work with communications and media to generate social media blasts and target those specific areas via Nextdoor and Chesterfield Happening. Now, we can't call all of these voters, but we will work with communications and media and get the word out. It will be posted on our homepage, and we will also post large signs at all the locations directing voters to the new locations. So absentee vote by mail statistics. Just to let you know, we are mailing out a total of 15,133 right before early voting begins. That's going to be the first mail out. And you'll see it broken out. I have the permanent absentee. Those are the people that are on a permanent absentee list to receive ballots for every election in which they're eligible. So that's 14,964. And we have 145 email ballots to be sent out. People can return their absentee ballots by mail. They must be postmarked no later than Election Day and received before noon on that Monday, November 13, after the election. They may also drop it in a ballot drop box that's available at every precinct and every satellite location. They don't need to wait in line. They can come straight inside and drop off their vote by mail ballot into that box. Now, while I have this platform, I want to highlight this law change, since it's quite a significant change to what voters are used to seeing when voting by mail. Instead of voters needing a witness signature, voters must now provide, as part of the statement of voter, the last four of their Social Security number and their year of birth. This went into effect July 1, so it's HB 1948. We are working on sending a mass notification to those on the permanent absentee list to let them know of this change, as well as a flyer to include with absentee applications and provide as handouts. We will work with communications and media to get this information out to the public and would appreciate any help you all can provide in making everyone aware of this law change. So before I conclude, I just want to thank you, each one of you, Dr. Casey and Matt Harris, for your continued support of the Registrar's Office in helping us automate many of our day-to-day operations. And thank you to the many departments in the county with whom we have great partnerships. Any questions?
Board members, any comments or questions?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I do. Thank you, first of all, for being here. We greatly appreciate it. Two things. Number one, you mentioned that you will inform those voters by call and or if they need a new voter registration card, you will share that with them as well.
Correct. They will all be sent automatically a new voter registration card.
Very good. And secondly, one concern I have is at our voting precincts, there are 5 of them, and sometimes voters can be unsure about who's on the ballot. Is it possible to have a display board with sample ballots that they may see prior to voting so they can be maybe more informed should they go to the precinct and see a name they may not be familiar with on the ballot? Is that something that can be done at the sites, especially since they may be voting at different sites throughout the county?
Right.
In a different district. So is that something we can do? And my reason for asking that is because we do not have the Observer nor Village News any longer to highlight for citizens who may not see or go to the website. So is that something that can be done?
Yes, absolutely. We will provide what we call a demonstration board, and we
Okay.
will put on there all of the sample ballots for Chesterfield County.
Thank you.
You're
I appreciate that.
Sure, absolutely.
Other board members?
Yes, Mr. Ingram.
How you doing?
Doing well, thank you.
If somebody requests an absentee ballot, or a permanent absentee ballot, so that they can make sure they have their ballot in their hand and know they're going to have their ballot, are they able to go to any of the locations at any time and be able to feed it directly in the machine so they can see it get counted?
That's a great question. So there is a process with that. If you were to be on the permanent absentee list, we mailed you a ballot, you receive your ballot, but you decide, I would like to vote in person. I don't want to vote this by mail ballot. You can absolutely come into any of those satellite locations or on election day at your precinct, and you have to relinquish that vote by mail ballot to the check-in poll book officer. Then they would reissue you another ballot. That's just so we can keep track of all the ballots we issued. So yes, they would be reissued another ballot to be fed into the machine.
So if somebody was afraid that their ballot could be somehow used by somebody else before they voted, they would be able to sign up for an absentee ballot, receive their ballot, have it in hand, and know that they're going to have their vote, but they can vote it in person if they want by relinquishing it at the polling place.
That is correct.
Any other members?
I just want to say thank you. This was a very crisp and clear and organized presentation, and I can tell you put a lot of work into it. Thank you very much for what you and your staff does. It's very important. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.